Make sure to leave a like, turn on notifications, and subscribe for more history. France, one of the most well-known and influential countries since the Dark Ages. France has been a key player in many geopolitical affairs over the years, ultimately shaping the course of history on the European mainland. But how did France become the country we know today? We will travel back to the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of the Dark Ages, showcasing the legacy of Charlemagne, the birth of the Holy Roman Empire, and the roots of Francia that would eventually create France. In this video, we will look at how France became a country. The year is 481. The Roman Empire had fallen 5 years earlier. During this time, the Dark Ages began, where the European continent would not see order or great nations for many years to come. Historians have even said that this period in history was the harshest and worst time to be alive as a human being. At this point, Visigoths, Vandals, and Burgundian tribes had begun to settle the lands of Gaul, what we know as modern-day France. These tribal kingdoms would steadily expand, often creating border tensions between one another. Though a melting pot in cultures, these kingdoms would become homogeneous in identity and be known as Franks. The kingdom of Clovis would eventually form under the reign of Clovis I. He was able to unite the Franks under one banner, which would eventually give way to the kingdom of Franks taking shape and expanding further east and south. The kingdom of Franks, or sometimes referred to as the Carolingian Empire, would face many obstacles in its path, including dealing with its neighbors, most notably the Emirate of Cordoba to the south in the Iberian Peninsula. By this point, the religion of Islam was on the rise and began to create a point of contention in the Christian world. Because of this, Christians felt it was their duty to defend their lands from the Muslim Moors. Muslim supremacy sought to expand further west into Europe. However, they would be halted at the Battle of Tours. On October 10, 732, military leader Charles Martel would defeat a large army of Spanish Moors, halting the Muslim advance into Western Europe. Abd ar-Rahman, the Muslim governor of Cordoba, was killed in the fighting, and the Moors retreated from Gaul, never to return in such force. Afterwards, Charles I, or better known as Charlemagne, succeeded Pepin and would be crowned King of the Franks. Charlemagne would expand the kingdom and push its borders, conquering the Kingdom of Lombardy to the south, a portion of territory in Iberia, and acquiring the lands of Brittany in the west. By this point, a transformative period would take place for the kingdom. In the year 800, Charlemagne was crowned Emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III, thus restoring the Roman Empire in the West for the first time since its dissolution in the 5th century. Charlemagne was selected for a variety of reasons, not least of which was his long-standing protectorate over the papacy. This marked a new chapter in European history, as the Holy Roman Empire would rule for over 1,000 years, playing a vital part in political affairs. Charlemagne would go on to create reforms, including the first public schools and currency standards. In some ways, the Holy Roman Empire was a force that brought Europe a sense of stability during the turbulent times in the Dark Ages. The empire would be an indicator of Europe transitioning away from the early medieval period and into the high medieval age. Charlemagne's reign would be the precursor to many great nations that would form out of it, most notably France. Eventually, the Holy Roman Empire would be split up after Charlemagne's death. His sons would carve up the empire into 3 predominant sectors of kingdoms: East Francia, Kingdom of Lotharingia, or sometimes named Middle Francia, and West Francia. West Francia, however, would be the kingdom that would form into France. The nation would go on to face many trials in its history. From the British rivalry across the Channel, constant internal conflicts within its government, to being the first line of defense in the many great wars that would unfold on its own soil time and time again.